So for today's installation of Honda Ridgeline videos, we're going to be installing a Prodigy P3 brake controller. It's probably like one of the most standard units out there. Very, very popular. I think we're going to go ahead and put that brake controller in the kind of the cubby up here. I think I saw a YouTube video from E-Trailer where they showed a similar installation with it going up in here. I think I like that better than trying to stick it, because I pretty much can't see it there at all. So this offers really good visibility and access to the buttons and the manual slider. So we'll have to put a hole in this panel back here to run the wire harness through. They make a pre-made wire harness, which is nice. The truck is pre-wired. There's a connector down here above the emergency brake lever or foot lever that this plugs right into. No splicing, no modifying or anything. That harness for a Honda is 3070P or a dash P. $10. I'd have to say that's pretty reasonably priced for that adapter harness. And I think you can pick the Prodigy P3s up for like $125 shipped, give or take a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of get set up a little bit, do some exploring in here to see what it's gonna take to put a hole for this end of the wire harness to fit through, and we'll go along on that ride and see how it turns out. Well, I was trying to figure out if there was a way to shift this thing into neutral or low to get the shifter out of the way, but I haven't been able to figure out a way to do that without it just sitting there constantly dinging because it knows it's not in park. So kind of gave up on that. Getting ready to put the bracket in now. I don't have my short 90-degree drill motor here, so I'm gonna just try and get the little sheet metal screws started through the plastic and see how that works. It's not ideal to me, but you know, as long as you don't over tighten them and strip them right out, the plastic that is, it'll work. So I'm gonna give that a go now. We'll see how it turns out. I want to leave a little bit of space on this side because we still have to be able to get the screw put back in for the brake controller itself, so you can't put this hanging bracket all the way over to the one side. That won't work. Taping this thing on here upside down just might be dumb enough to work for temporary. I don't need it square quite yet. I just need to get one of the screws started. So I'm literally just putting a hole in the plastic with pressure on the end of the ratchet. The tapes come loose. And success. We have one hole in the plastic. Obviously you don't want to torque this up with this ratchet. You'll probably pull the screw right out of the plastic. spying on my neighbors, whoever that is. Somebody just pulled up to the mailbox. Kind of like paranoid Rob Lowe. So I'm just kind of adjusting this bracket so the brake controller doesn't seem like it's horribly crooked in there. Give this guy a little bit more torque so it'll kind of stay put. Somebody needs to invent a flashlight that'll just stay where you put it. All right. Still got a little bit of adjustability, but I think I'm happy with where she's located. I think what I'm going to do now is actually get a small extension to put on this little socket, and I'm literally going to only use my fingertips to torque it. Awesome. So now we're ready to figure out where the hole for the wire harness needs to be. It's a little bit off to the what would be the driver's side of the controller, at least here in America. Oopsie. Cat-like reflexes. So all this scientific exact measuring is going to put me right about here. So now we're going to do an exploratory hole right there in that piece of plastic and not go too deep. Make sure that we're not going to hit anything behind the dashboard. Alright, are you guys back with me? Oh, I see flashy red lights. Okay, so I've poked a hole in the back of the plastic with a number 10 drill bit, and I'm going to take a 90-degree pick and just kind of stick it through that hole, and there is something back in there right around 1 inch behind that plastic panel that we obviously don't want to poke a hole in. That wouldn't be good, but it feels like there's enough room for the connector to fit through and then send it over towards the park and brake assembly. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, believe it or not, a crusty old rusty spade bit, 7/8. Mr. Spade bit, they'll drill through more than just wood. A lot of people don't often think of that, but I've even drilled through like 1/8 inch aluminum with these guys, and they cut a pretty nice hole. So that's what we're going to give her a try with. I'm going to have to put this thing back in gear and make it beep for a while, so I'll probably just cut the hole real quick and you guys will miss out on that scary shenanigan, but we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to bring you guys for along just in case there's an epic fail. Dinging McDingerson is going off right now, sorry about that. My drill motor and my spade bit just barely fit in there. But here we go, we're gonna see what happens. Some pretty tough plastic, but she made a nice hole. So I'm gonna get this mess cleaned up and we'll see if we can get the wire harness in there. And I did not hit the obstacle behind. All right, 7/8 hole through the plastic will be enough size. I've got the connector just started through there. I might have to switch sides so we can try and fish this guy up to the, we got to get it to come up here. Actually, it's not even really up, it's more of just a over. I'm kind of procrastinating because of the whole laying on my back upside down part of this operation. Well, it's about an hour later and I had to forego having a nice round hole for a ugly oval hole or a rectangular hole. But I got to where I was tired of screwing with this thing. It's starting to get a little bit ridiculous, and I will win. So I'm ready to try and shove the wire through there again and see if we can get it over to the driver's side footwell. So after jacking around with this thing for another hour and just about going completely losing my mind, it turns out that when you put this wire harness and fish it up through this hole, it literally does need to go up. And once it goes up, it'll fall down over towards the driver's side. I think one of the largest time wasters that I had is I kept looking for the wires underneath the dashboard in the wrong spot. There's a couple, like, I'll call it chambers, if you will, different areas behind the dashboard, and I assumed that this is where the wire was going to come out. And it turns out the wire was right in front of me, not too far behind this little grill deal here in the knee bolster or knee panel. So I'm going to finish routing the wire and then show plugging it into the connector over on the other side. And now that I've wasted 2 hours, we're probably close to being done with this project. So we're moving along slowly. Gotta go bust out one of these vintage Craftsman S-shaped screwdrivers, if you will. It's not ideal. I've got a few different ratcheting 90-degree screwdrivers that would work a hell of a lot better than this thing, but they're not here. So I'm going to get this bracket tightened down with this. This hurts excruciatingly bad. My body will not tolerate working upside down and twisted. And if I ever find the guy that invented the strobing flashlight, we're gonna have some words about that too. Alright, I gotta go find a different tool before I just tear this screw up. Okay, I might have one more shot at it as far as me climbing underneath this dashboard. It hurts a lot. Super hard to see, but the wire and the snake skin behind this steel bracket and this clear hose ahead of that steel bracket, so closer to the driver's seat, is where you're going to find it laying. after you shove it up through the hole in the dashboard, or the center console, I should say. Once it falls down in there, you can reach up and grab it with something. And you can see how it's just kind of laying through some pre-existing wire harnesses. Oh man, it's so tight down here. So it meanders all the way across, and then, oh boy, we're testing out the camera stabilization big time. But there is the connector that is, so here's the parking brake, emergency brake. You'll find that connector's just above there. The sun's blasting into off of my arm. Anyways, I just kind of strung it above these connectors, and it is just about the right length to where you don't even really need to add tie wraps if you don't want to, because it just can't fall out of there. That shot might work, I'm not sure. But anyways, I've got power to it, and it's ready to be hooked to the trailer. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. The sun's not in our favor, but my neck is just about seized up solid, and I'm gonna have to drag myself out from underneath it here. But so far everything looks like it's testing out flawlessly, and I will report back once we get it hooked up to the trailer and do some testing with it to set the adjustments. But successful installation, I would say. Alright, so got the cable snapped into place underneath the dashboard. That might have been one of the easiest parts of this whole project. It automatically powered up on its own. I haven't done anything to tell it to do that. So we've gotten out the handy dandy brake controller manual, and I'm going to go through and do the initial setup. If there's anything hard about that, I will come back and acknowledge it so.